Hello students, I am here today in the TV studios of AIOU to help you understand the 7th unit of your course, Educational Psychology. With so much covered in the past couple of lectures, today we will move on to discuss motivation as a factor of enhancing students' productivity in a classroom and look at many theories attached with this phenomenon. Let's begin our lecture by first trying to understand the concept of motivation. When it comes to art, Sarah is highly motivated. We can reasonably draw this conclusion based on her close attention in class, her eagerness to draw whenever she can, and her career goal. Motivation is something that energizes, directs, and sustains behavior. It gets you moving, points you in a particular direction, and keeps you going. Virtually all students are motivated in one way or another. One student may be keenly interested in classroom subject matter and seek out challenging coursework, participate actively in class discussions, and earn high marks on assigned projects. Another student may be more concerned with the social side of school, interacting with classmates frequently, attending extracurricular activity almost every day, and perhaps running for a student election. Still another may be focused on athletics, excelling in physical education classes, playing or watching sports most afternoons and weekends, and faithfully following a physical fitness regimen. Yet another student, perhaps because of an undetected learning disability, a shy temperament, or seemingly uncoordinated body, may be motivated to avoid academics, social situations, or athletic activities. When Sarah comes to school each day, she brings her strong interest in art with her. But motivation is not necessarily something that learners bring to school. It can also arise from environmental conditions at school. When we talk about how the environment can enhance a learner's motivation to learn particular things or behave in particular ways, we are talking about situated motivation. In our lecture today, we'll find that as a teacher, what can be done to increase the level of motivation in students, as well as theories that are relevant in motivating students to learn and behave in a way that promotes their long-term success and productivity. Let's talk about techniques to enhance motivation. In schools, some things a subject itself is interesting enough and useful enough for a student to be motivated to do well in it. However, much of what is learned in school is not inherently interesting to most students. For this reason, a variety of incentives and rewards for learning are introduced. These can include praises, grades, recognition, or prizes. However, it is still a matter of curiosity as to whether such rewards, known as extrinsic motivation, end up decreasing the intrinsic or internal motivation in students. Let's look at the way that can enhance intrinsic motivation in classrooms. First, arouse interest. It is important to convince students of the importance and interest level of the material that is about to be presented, to show that knowledge to be gained will be useful. Let's talk about maintaining curiosity. A skillful teacher will use a variety of means to further maintain curiosity in the course of the lesson. the use of demonstration helps to make students to understand the lesson. How to use a variety of interesting presentation modes. The motivation to learn is enhanced by the interesting materials as well as by a variety in the way the material is presented. For example, our teacher can use films, guest speakers, demonstrations, and so on in order to maintain interest in a subject. However, all of these different materials need to be carefully planned and should all focus on the core objectives and complement each other. Let's talk about how to provide clear feedback. Feedback can serve as an incentive. It can be an adequate reward in some cases. Feedback must be clear and specific. Given close in time to the performance, it should be informative and motivational, and help by giving them suggestions for future success. Let's talk about how to increase the value and availability of extrinsic motivation. Students must value incentives that are used to motivate them. For example, some students may not be much interested in receiving teachers' praise and grades, but might value notes sent home to parents, more recess time, or special privileges. Let's talk about the theories of motivation. We all want to be more productive, but getting motivated enough to actually get things done can seem impossible. Social scientists have been studying motivation for decades, trying to find out what motivates our behavior, how and why. Dozens of theories of motivation have been proposed over the years. Here today, we will look at some of the most popular ones that can help you understand how to motivate students in a classroom. Let's talk about instinct theory. According to instinct theory, people are motivated to behave in certain ways because they are evolutionarily performed to do so. Example of this in the animal world is seasonal migration. These animals do not learn to do this. It is instead an inborn pattern of behavior. Instincts motivate some species to migrate at certain times each year. William James created a list of human instincts that included such things as attachment, play, shame, anger, fear, shyness, modesty, and love. The main problem with this theory is that it did not really explain behavior, it just described it. By the 1920s, instinct theories were pushed aside in favor of other motivational theories. But contemporary evolutionary psychologists still study the influence of genetics and heredity on human behavior. Let's talk about needs theory. The hierarchy of need theory was coined by psychologist Abraham Maslow in his 1943 paper, A Theory of Human Motivation. The crux of this theory is that individual most basic needs must be met before they become motivated to achieve higher level needs. The hierarchy is made of 5 levels. First, psychological needs. These needs must be met in order for a person to survive, such as food, water, and shelter. Safety needs, including personal and financial security and health and well-being. Love and belonging, the need for friendship, relationship, and family. Esteem, the need to feel confident and be respected by others. Self-actualization, the desire to achieve everything you possibly can and become the most that you can be. According to the hierarchy of needs, you must be in good health, safe and secure with meaningful relationships and confidence before you are able to be the most that you can be. Let's talk about arousal theory. The arousal theory of motivation suggests that people can take certain actions to either decrease or increase levels of arousal. When arousal level gets too low, for example, a person might watch an exciting movie or go for a jog. When arousal level gets too high, on the other hand, a person would probably look for ways to relax, such as meditating or reading a book. According to this theory, we are motivated to maintain an optimum level of arousal, although this level can vary based on individual or the situation. Let's talk about drive theory. According to the drive theory of motivation, people are motivated to take certain actions in order to reduce the internal tension that is caused by unmet needs. For example, you might be motivated to drink a glass of water in order to reduce the internal state of thirst. This theory is useful in explaining behaviors that have a strong biological component, such as hunger or thirst. The problem with the drive theory of motivation is that these behaviors are not always motivated purely by psychological needs. For example, people often eat even when they are not really hungry. Let's talk about expectancy theory. The expectancy theory of motivation suggests that when we are thinking about future, we formulate different expectations about what will happen in the future. When we predict that there will be most likely be a positive outcome, we believe that we are able to make that possible future a reality. This leads people to feel more motivated to pursue those likely outcomes. The theory proposes that motivation consists of 3 key elements: valence, instrumentality, and expectancy. Valence refers to the value we place on the potential outcome. Things that seem unlikely to produce personal benefit have a low valence, while those that offer immediate personal rewards have a higher valence. Instrumentality refers to whether people believe that they have a role to play in the predicted outcome. If the event seems random or outside of the individual's control, people will feel less motivated to pursue that course of action. If the individual plays a major role in the success of the endeavor, however, people will feel more instrumental in the process. Expectancy is the belief that one has the capabilities to produce the outcome. If people feel like they lack the skills or knowledge to achieve the desired outcome, they will be less motivated to try. People who feel capable, on the other hand, will be more likely to try to reach that goal. Let's now look at the connection between motivation and achievement. Achievement motivation, also referred to as the need of achievement. It is important determinant of aspiration, efforts, and persistence when an individual expects that his performance will be evaluated in relation to some standards of excellence. Such behavior is called achievement-oriented. Motivation to achieve is instigated when an individual knows that he is responsible for the outcome of some venture. when he anticipates explicit knowledge of results that will define his success or failure, and when there is some degree of risk, for example, some uncertainty about the outcome of his effort. The goal of achievement-oriented activity is to succeed, to perform well in relation to the standard of excellence or in comparison with others who are competitors. Individuals differ in their strength of motivate to achieve, and various activities differ in the challenge they pose and the opportunity that refers for the operation of this motive. Thus, both personality and experimental factors must be considered in accounting for the strength of motivation to achieve in a particular person facing a particular challenge in a particular situation. Thus, very same person may be more strongly motivated at one time than any another time, even though in most situations he may generally tend to be more interested in achieving than other people. The concept of achievement motivation has its antecedent in earlier psychological studies conducted under different rubrics, particularly success and failure, ego involvement, and level of aspirations. At that time, there was a little bias for a meaningful integration of knowledge because research findings were not anchored by the use of common methods for assessment of motivation. This is less true today as a result of methodological innovation shortly after World War II, namely the experimental validation of methods of measuring achievement motivation, followed by a systematic use of this new tool in behavioral and societal studies. David Clarence, an American psychologist, and his co-workers combined with the traditional clinical assumption that human motives are freely expressed in imagination with procedures developed within experimental psychology for manipulation of strengths of motivation. It was demonstrated first with the hunger, then with the concern over achievement. Other human motives that the motivational state of an individual can be diagnosed by means of content analysis of his fantasy or imaginative behavior. John William Atkinson, also known as Jack Atkinson, was another American psychologist who pioneered the scientific study of human motivation. Atkinson theorized the orientation results from the achieving success and avoiding failure. He suggested that motives to achieve success is determined by three things: the need to succeed or need achievement, the person's estimate of likelihood of success in performing that particular task, and the incentive for success, that is how much the person wants to succeed in that particular task. The motive to avoid failure is determined by three similar considerations: the need to avoid failure, which, like the need to achieve success, the person's estimate of likelihood of failure at the particular task, and the incentive value of failure at that task, that is how unpleasant it would be to fail. Both McClelland and Atkinson achievement and motivation theory was based on a personality characteristics that manifested as a dispositional need to improve and perform well according to a certain standard of excellence. In order to assess people's need for achievement, they use a projective instrument called the thematic appreciation test that elicit unconscious processes. In this instrument, people are asked to write a story describing the thoughts, emotions, and behavior of a person in an ambiguous picture or drawing. For example, a child sitting in front of a violin. The stories are often then coded for achievement-related content, including indicators of competition, accomplishment, and commitment to achieve. This technique, labeled the picture story exercise, was used in numerous studies that tested the relationship of achievement needs with various indicators of performance. Dear students, that's all for today. I hope you were able to understand in detail what motivation really is and what are its many theories. The techniques to enhance motivation that we learned here today will hopefully benefit you greater in your career. Until next time, goodbye from the TV studio of AIOU.